Docs and Fields is a fictitious paint manufacturing company, and they do business with another fictitious company called Acme Painting Limited. In this document, we can see that Acme ordered 100 1-litre tins of matte enamel white and 65 5-litre drums of gloss yellow. Docs and Fields make the paint to order in batches. Every batch has a unique number and a letter associated with it. The letter indicates the work shift that made the paint. Every letter has a colour associated with it. So here we have red, green and blue for A, B and C. You can see it took 3 batches to meet the 100 tins that Acme required for the first paint product. Each batch has its own best before date too, because they could be made on different days. So how would you automate a document like this? Because Docs and Fields produce dozens a day. Let's see. This is what Docs and Fields looks like in the app. We've already done some work. We have some customers added. We have some products in here. We have our A, B and C batch letters with the right colors associated. And we have the units of measure that the company deals with. Now let's build the data model we need to represent our document. It's going to be called delivery document, and its first field is going to be the document ID, which will be an auto-incrementing field starting from the next available value which we get from the document. The document is associated with the customer placing the order, so this field is a lookup of customer. Every document has many orders, so we make that statement and configure the fields of the order. Checking back at the document again, those fields are quantity, unit of measure, and the product. So let's build that out. Every order has many batches. I just want to remind myself what a batch is. It's the batch ID, the work shift letter, a quantity, and the best before date. Simple enough. We begin by making the statement that every order has many batches. Then we define the batch. Let me just reorder the fields a little bit here. Now we have the data model in place. This defines a database under the hood, and as you'll see in a bit, an automatic user interface for entering data. But the next step we have to take right now is to define the template. So let's get back over to Google Docs. Here's an empty Google Doc that we'll use to create our template. Probably the easy thing to do is to copy over the actual document and start converting it bit by bit into a template. We need to launch the template editor and select our data model. The template editor allows you to insert placeholders into your document that will be replaced by the fields of your model. So now we can get started with replacing the parts of the document that need to be turned into template values. The document ID is an easy one, and actually the customer name is not much more difficult. But orders are where it gets a bit more interesting, because this is basically a loop. You can see that the editor knows that it's a loop because it shows the loop icon here. Clicking on that inserts an each block that will repeat a section of the document for each order. What we want in the repeated section is a line that says quantity times unit of measure of product name. Now let's tackle the table of batches. It's a 3-column table, and we can just copy the headers from the old table as a shortcut. Insert the loop for batches, and fill in the placeholders for the batch fields. Remember that the batch number and the letter are stuck together to make up the batch ID in the document. The final piece in getting the table loop working is to move the end of the each block down into the row below the data. And then, of course, none of this should be bold. Last thing is to remove the content we copied over from the original document, and our template is ready to go. Everything is now in place to create a delivery document. Let's click Enter Data and then Add Delivery Document. The ID is assigned the next available value, and we have to select the customer we're dealing with. Our sample document had 2 orders, so let's start by adding the first one. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was 100 1-litre tins of the white paint. And the second order was 66 5-litre drums of the yellow paint. That basically represents the order as it would have come from the customer. Now it's time to start filling in our batches. Just making some numbers up here, it doesn't really matter. I just want it to be 3 batches in the order. And 1 batch to fulfill the second order. Hit the Generate button. And now we have a link to our document. Let's see what it looks like. It looks largely right, except big glaring error, I forgot the colors. Okay, back to the design screen for our model. And let's tell batches that each of their lines takes their color from the color associated with the batch letter. When we come back to look at the data view of our document, we can see that the colors reflect properly here, which is reassuring. So let's regenerate the document. And there you go, job done.